Last Wednesday you were following me on Twitter. On Thursday you weren't. Are my tweets boring?
I'm sure it was a technical error, and that. But did you follow me back?
I don't think I did, Lucy, but I shall now.
And well, thank you very much. But you know, just so you know, it's at Lucy Marcus in case you get lost. I would say this. I mean, I use Twitter for something very particular.
Yeah.
To me, Twitter is an amazing tool, and the other social media, Facebook and so on. I use them not only to transmit but also to receive. Mm-hmm. So to me. The people I follow, and even the people I don't follow, because of course I have lists and so on that I follow as well, so you don't necessarily have to be watching all the time, but to me it's an incredible way of getting information. You were voted number 5 in the Independent's top business tweeters list. You were in the Reuters Clout 50 list. Yes. So this is pretty important stuff. I think it's very important stuff. I do. And that list was actually, the Reuters Clout 50 list was very interesting to me, because you saw on there people that you wouldn't necessarily associate with Twitter. So Richard Branson or Rupert Murdoch or, you know, so on. The diversity of the list was interesting to me. And also, by the same token, the diversity of the Independent list was interesting in terms of the different types of people you saw there. To me, Twitter, Facebook are very useful tools. I get a lot out of them because, and I think for directors, you know, sitting in a boardroom, you know, they sometimes you'll hear people poo-poo the value of something like Twitter, or say they don't have the time or whatever. But actually, I find it a time saver. You know, I follow a couple of hashtags, the CorpGov hashtag, which specializes in corporate governance. CSR is corporate social responsibility. Of course, sorry to interrupt, but the danger, it would seem, and you know, let's face it, our classic perception of the board, you know, a bunch of old guys sitting around a table. You don't expect them all to be holding iPhones and Blackberries, right? But you're saying this should happen more now. You're saying that they should be sharing information that they hear in the boardroom with their just because you're a board director, that's not your whole life. I mean,
no. But how should they be using social media?
I can tell you how I use it, and why I find it valuable. And the way I use it is I use it to share ideas. So if I read something that I think is interesting, I just automatically share it. You know, that's anything I think is interesting, I just hit the share button, off it goes. The reality is social media exists, right? And that actually it's not separate from everything else we do. You know, the Thomson Reuters business is based on technology. So if you have people around the boardroom who don't understand actually what the technology is, how can they be making decisions about what the business should be doing? There's no sector at all that isn't in some way impacted by technology. Look at BP. You know, there's a business, I'm trying to think of a business that's a sort of old sector, say, in oil and gas and so on. If BP, when BP had the Gulf oil spill, one of the most interesting things that happened, and I think the thing that made boards all over the world sit up and pay attention, was it changed the way dialogue happens. They were perhaps used to talking BP to White House, BP to Kremlin, and all of a sudden there was a whole world that they didn't know anything about on social media where people were having a conversation that they weren't a part of and that they weren't engaged in. And so by not actually understanding this phenomenon, they didn't understand that they had to get on that right away. Social media is an incredible means of spreading ideas. And if ideas are good, they spread quickly. If ideas are bad, they also spread quickly and are derided. But either way, ideas that are interesting are spread. And so one of those is looking at the boardroom and people asking questions about the boardroom and seeding this idea of, you know, essentially, why should the man or woman on the street care about the boardroom? Well, the reason they should care about it is we wake up in beds made by companies. We watch TV, the programs are made by companies. They come down the pipes of companies. What used to be public sector utilities, companies. Yeah. You know, and so, and on the top of every single one of those companies is a board. Don't you want to know who's in the boardroom taking the decision about what that company does? If I tweet this interview, Lucy, will you start following me again? I might, but you have to tweet some interesting things. I promise. Okay, deal.